Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, and every single Saturday night, we like to take you inside our expectations for the changes for the new college football rankings when they arrive on Sunday in the form of the AP Top 25 poll. It is tomorrow's Top 25 today. So I ask, for the Ohio State fall, do you think that Ohio State will land above or below Georgia?
Below?
I think below.
It's
just a recency bias. You lost last. You're not playing for your conference title. I think they'll put them behind it. I'm not really saying they should, but
right.
I think they will.
That is the sort of the fork in the road, because you're not going to. I mean, they could in the consensus, just if Ohio State has rankings all the way from number 5 to number 10 in the consensus, they could end up landing between Georgia and Tennessee. But the way the voters have behaved in terms of the groups that are kind of paired together, they're either going to land right ahead of Georgia at number 5, or they're going to drop down to what their floor is, which is Indiana, because there ain't no way they're falling behind Indiana, the team that they just beat. But I'm with you, Bud. I'm more on the closer to Indiana side. I think the fact that you lost at home to Michigan, to the worst Michigan that we've seen since the COVID year, as a 19-point favorite, I think that's going to, even though you've got a win against Penn State, which is going to be the new number 3 team in the country, I think they still end up getting slotted behind Georgia and Tennessee, a little bit closer to Indiana.
Yeah, and I think, like, to me, that's the biggest difference maker, is they have by far the worst loss between them and Georgia. Like, Georgia lost to Ole Miss and Alabama. Ohio State lost to a 7-5 Michigan team at home.
This BYU game is unbelievable, by the way. Like, not in like an entertaining way, but just in like a. So their receiver drops the ball on 3rd and 7. They get bailed out by a penalty. They complete first down, and then they just almost threw a 91-yard pick six, but the Houston DB dropped it. Yeah.
That's why he plays defense.
Can Houston score 20 here? I'm not really sure. So they kind of just need to get into, like, can you get up 24-10 and get to the house? Okay, yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're going to quarterback draw here. Oh, they're going to get a first down on quarterback draw, actually. So, all right. Yeah, I was thinking field goal, but all right.
So where does Miami fall?
Far.
Sorry about that.
Far. I mean, they're 6th.
It's only their second loss of...
Behind Bama?
How many 2-loss teams do you think they'll be ranked ahead of? None.
Well, in the AP,
you'll be ranked ahead of Arizona State.
I think they will be ranked ahead of Arizona State.
I'm not sure. I think.
I mean, I think they probably will be, just based on poll kind of up, down. But I wouldn't be shocked to see Arizona State get put higher on more ballots than Miami, because if we look at their resume now, they've got 2 losses to Georgia Tech and Syracuse. Neither one of them are ranked. Syracuse could be ranked come tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But their best win is Florida or Duke or Louisville. Like, the problem with Miami all season has been their strength of schedule. They haven't played a great schedule, so they don't really have anything to hang their hat on other than the fact that they had been winning games. Now that they've lost 2 of their last 3, I think they're going to lose that benefit of the doubt from a lot of the voters. I think they're going to fall quite a bit.
Does A&M drop out?
Yes.
Does Duke get in?
No, I've got Syracuse and Memphis getting in. And remember, I'm using the AP poll here for not CFP rankings, just if there's any difference there. But I've got Tulane dropping out from 18 to out, Texas A&M dropping out from 20. Syracuse gets in. They were 28th last week in voting points. Memphis was 27th in voting points, with the Orange getting the win against Miami, with Memphis getting the win at Tulane. I feel like that's a pretty strong case to be able to get in there. Kansas State was also in that realm, and obviously Kansas State loses to Iowa State, which should hold its position, right around that sort of 17-18 type mark. Clemson still in?
Yeah, but
they're not going to drop out.
They're going to be in that 20-ish range, I think.
They could have a very high floor.
Are they going to fall behind Tulane? Or are they really going to fall, like, behind BYU in the AP? I guess they could.
That's where I've got them.
Yeah, okay.
Right around BYU. And it's And I've also got South Carolina making a little bit of a jump up in terms of I could see the AP voters riding this South Carolina wave to giving the Gamecocks they will just sort of be on Alabama's tail in terms of the way that these things are being stacked, especially now that win at Clemson is a really good win for South Carolina, a team that had been a little bit of a quality loss team. That was a really good victory to bolster that 3-loss resume. So I could see South Carolina making a move. Like I could see South Carolina, which was 2 spots behind Arizona State, jumping ahead of Arizona State based on the idea of who you beat, where you beat them, and sort of what it means for your overall profile.
I assume you have like Illinois at 8, 9, maybe 10.
Did you see Bielema's tweet?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He's got a point. Nobody has better losses than the Illini right now.
Listen,
1, 3, and a bowl eligible Minnesota.
it would be a lot sweeter if you could have just said 1 and 3 without having to say a bowl eligible Minnesota.
Hey, he's doing what he's got to do.
I know he's doing what he's got to do. Any other rankings thoughts? Any other what's the burning question for the committee?
Well, I mean, yeah, like a 3-loss team is going to get in, like, right? We're accepting that.
Yes.
And the question is going to be which one?
Yes.
So who are the actual candidates? Because Clemson would be a 4-loss team, so they would be out. Miami can't be a 3-loss team now.
Bama and South Carolina.
I think so too. Bama has the head-to-head.
But overall.
And you know what else Alabama has? A potential win against the SEC champion.
Right. They have the Georgia win, which is better than anything South Carolina has.
It's going to come down, I think, to the SMU Clemson game. I think SMU, even if they lose, probably can stay in.
You're more confident in that than I am.
Yeah, given how they treated the ACC last year, I'm very skeptical about that.
I mean, if SMU loses, and let's say they lose by like 6, they've got losses to BYU, who's out of the picture for the most part. You've got the loss to Clemson in the title game, but then your best win is what? Again, this isn't my argument. This is the committee's argument.
So Eric's question in the chat, Eric Grahek, or however we say that, is a pretty good one.
All right, let me get up. Let's see.
From 1250.
If 11-1 Indiana is a lock, how is 11-1 SMU not a lock when they are ranked higher than them?
Because Indiana can't lose another game.
Right. And I am of the opinion, I could be wrong on this. This is actually something I am interested to see what the committee does, that the committee will be quite protectionist for the 2 leagues whose championship games actually draw big-time ratings. I don't think they give a damn about the Big 12 championship or the ACC championship or any other championships. SEC, Big 10, I think they'll protect the losers of those games really up until the point of like logical absurdity. I think if SMU loses, they could be in trouble.
Follow the money.
Yes, right.
My thought is, and I'm not going to call anybody a lock.
Ole Miss. If the chat wants to talk Ole Miss. Sorry.
No, they're not.
I don't think so. No, not with Kentucky loss and no.
I think that SMU. I think the situations that you're painting are tougher if it is an SMU that you're talking about, obviously, than it is if Clemson loses, then SMU just gets the auto. I think that Clemson beating SMU is tougher to be able to create this like massive, ACC run. Because what's the math basically? If y'all are saying 4-4, then just one Big 12 team.
Mm-hmm. So the 4 SEC, the Big 10, Boise, the ACC champ, Notre Dame, the Big 12 champ. You're done.
You're done. Yeah, maybe.
Listen, if SMU loses close, maybe there's a chance, but it's hard for me to think, based on what we have seen from this committee over the years, in the 4 team in the last decade that a 3-loss Alabama would be left out for a 2-loss SMU without a major win.
It's Alabama, man. They got the A.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I was sarcasm, but there's a lot of truth in it.
Yeah.
Could Boise get the 3 seed?
Yes. If it's Clemson.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah.
So now the 5 seed's not the place
now
to
this
be.
5 seed. Yeah.
Well, so listen, could Boise get the 3 and Arizona State get the 4?
So Clemson would be like
12?
12?
No, because
Beating SMU would give you enough of a bump that
yes. I shouldn't say no. It's possible, but I don't think they would.
Maybe if they'd lost to Georgia by 34 instead of 31.
I tell you what, if Duke does wind up in like 25.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say if Duke winds up in
No.
the playoff. I was like, Chip, whoa, where are we coming from here?
If Duke winds up at 25, that's setting SMU up to be okay.
Maybe.
If 9-3 Duke pops up in there at number 25, then you're looking at that as something to potentially bolster that TCU argument. Not TCU, excuse me, TCU, another team that I was like, I don't think they would get all the way in. But what, TCU 8-4, right? After the win today?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the win against Pitt looked a lot better when Pitt was 7-0, not when they had
It did, yes.
fallen totally off the cliff.
I mean, Pitt's offensive line is falling apart. It cooked them. They went 3-5 in league play.
But they were 7-0. Remember that? Remember when they were 7-0?
Who's going to the 6th seed if somehow Boise does get the 3? And then you get to play the 2, which, yeah, I mean, this is why I think you want to keep winning. In addition to not having to play an extra game, which does put your guys at risk.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. You were saying you want to keep playing, keep winning?
I think you want to keep winning ball games and try to get the bye. I understand the argument. I do think it is a close argument. I think in some certain situations, the 5 could be more advantageous than the 1. But it's not guaranteed. Right?
Well, I just don't want to put anything in the hands of the committee to think that
Yes.
I'm aiming for a spot when the spot could literally be separated. Like I did a thing on the college football pregame show this morning where I laid out basically a situation where the spot in the final rankings between 2 teams would be 1 spot, but the difference in the bracket would be the 5 and the 12. You know, like it would be not the 5 and the 12. It would be the 12 seed and the 4 seed. Yeah. All right. So if we've got 11-2 UNLV who just beat Boise State, and then and this was this morning, or a 10-3 Colorado which just beat Arizona State, battling for the 4th automatic bid. One of those teams is going to be the 4. One of those teams is going to be the 12, and they might be separated by 1 spot in the final rankings. That's broken.
One other thing on this, because of the timing of the games, you will not know if it's Clemson or SMU. So nobody's going to have the opportunity to even test we call it lay down theory or whatever you want, because SMU Clemson is the final game of the night. So you will not have the advanced knowledge of whether you can, slot yourself into whatever seed you think you can project by losing close. Now, which I don't think teams would do anyway. Maybe I'm wrong on this.
I don't think you can send that message to college stage competitors.
I agree.
I think
literally you won't know.
That would be poison. I think that would be poison to your locker room.
Our CBS Sports colleague, Chris Hassel, says just play all the games at the same time to keep that from happening. Because I'm sure the television networks would be
control
thrilled
everything
to play these games all at the same time. Because what matters most in this world is just fairness.
All right. We will anything else?
Tennessee clinched a spot in the playoff. Tennessee fans, there's really not much else to say.
Western Kentucky hit a 53-yard walk-off
to beat Jack State.
Yeah.
And now the CUSA title game is now Western Kentucky and Jack State, right?
Also, didn't Huff get hurt?
Did he?
Jack State? So that'll be interesting to watch. So the noon games next week. Okay, Arizona State, assuming that BYU does not blow a 2-touchdown lead with 13 minutes left, which is not a safe assumption based on how they
can't assume.
But Houston has not exactly taken advantage of all these errors so far. So we got that at noon. Ohio and Miami, Ohio.
That'll be Arizona State, Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Yes. And then Georgia, Texas for.
And then and Miami against Ohio, as it was
Penn
written
State,
in
Oregon
the stars, because it's what we do.
I need to get a Miami, Ohio.
You saw the opening line for that Penn State, Ohio, or Penn State, Oregon game?
3.5.
Yeah. That is the one scenario I completely agree with you guys. If Oregon loses, I think they're like a lock 5.
Yes.